So I want you to give a good God bless you and welcome to Pastor Malcolm Duncan. Come on.
Good evening, everyone. How are you all? Enjoying things so far? Even the people in the cheap seats at the back, hello? Yeah, that's nice to see you. Listen, there's been an announcement made. I don't know if you've heard about this. It was only made about a fortnight ago, something like that. I was sharing it with some friends recently. How many of you use Twitter? Oh, my goodness. Put your hand up if you use Twitter. Ah, that's better. Welcome to the other 500 million people in the world that use it. What about Facebook? Ah, you see, a few more on Facebook. Welcome to the almost 1 billion people that use Facebook. YouTube? Anybody ever look at stuff on YouTube? Then this announcement will be of really great interest to you. Because social media is so complex and you don't know which site you're looking at, YouTube and Twitter and Facebook announced about a fortnight ago that they were merging their sites. It's due to happen at the end of 2013. And it's to enable people to have one easy access route for social media. So I'm on Twitter. If you want to follow me through the conference or have conversations after it, then you want to use the little @ sign, Malcolm J. Duncan. I'd love you to do that. But to make it easier for people, they've decided that they're going to merge the three. There's going to be one portal for YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Good news, eh? Oh, for goodness sake, you're allowed to smile. The website is going to be called UTwitface. It's a bad thing when you laugh at your own jokes, isn't it? I wonder how often we miss the opportunity to be in touch with our communities because we are behind the curve. You know, there are some people in this room, and you would say to me, social media is demonic. And I would say back, nonsense. Absolute nonsense. A couple of hundred years ago when people, let's go back 20 years ago, when video projectors came in. People said it will disrupt our worship. We need to stay focused on the Lord. They were probably the same people that 30 or 40 years before that said, you can't use overhead projectors. They disrupt us. What happens if something goes wrong? You know, I led a church, and we had 400 hymn books, and we never used them because about 4 people in the congregation said, what if the bulb goes? And probably they are a part of a generation that find technology hard, like my mum, like me in many ways. So I'm not despising the generation, but I am saying this. When the Bible was first translated into English, people said you can't do that. If you translate it into English, then you'll lose some sense of what it meant. And then when hymn books were published, people said you can't do that. And when they had music introduced in church in the 19th century, people said you can't do that. There's always a generation, and it's not about age, it's about mindset and heart and attitude. There's always a generation of people that say you can't do that because they hanker back for the good old days. And it doesn't mean that you have to be 60 or 70 or 80 to hanker back for the good old days. I've met people who are 20 and 25 and they hanker after the good old days. They look back to a moment in their Christian experience which was better than the one that they have now, and they say, we want to go back there. We want to live in that place. We want to live in that moment. We want to encapsulate that point in our time and our history and our story because that's where we were closest to God. And of course, I understand that. But as you spend 4 days exploring what it means to step forward in the Spirit, to move forward in the purposes of God, would you please do it with an open mind? Would you remember the words of the prophet Haggai that should echo through every Pentecostal church's congregation? The latter shall be greater than the former. I look around Pentecostalism, you know, and I don't see that. I see people looking back, not looking forward. They look back to the good old days of George Jeffreys, or the good old days of Smith Wigglesworth, or the good old days of Gypsy Smith, or Amy Semple McPherson, or Teddy Howells, or one of a number of people. We look back to the good old days and we say, why can't it be like that? Because God doesn't want it to be like that. He wants it to be something which is relevant and vibrant and lively and passionate and strong and engaging and transforming today. You're allowed to get a bit excited. A couple of years ago, I wrote this poem, I want to be a God-gazer, captured by the brilliance that springs from the radiance of you. I want to be a God-gazer, not a cheap food grazer or an easy option laser. I want to be a trailblazer for the ordinary, everyday life. I want to be a God-gazer, not just copying the halcyon ways that shimmer brighter in the haze of bygone rays in the good old days. I want to be a God-gazer, looking through the trappings of success, cutting through the stucco of respectability like a laser piercing darkness. I want to be a God-gazer, reaching for the stars and seeing beauty in the moment by becoming fluent in the language of the God who is here and who is now. I want to be a God-gazer until my imagination is saturated, until my thirst is sated, until my passion is stirred, until my intellect is stretched as far as it can be, until my yearning yearns for others to be free. I want to be a God-gazer, not a meetings manager or a people pleaser or a tea and sympathy vicar, not just a leadership trainer, not just a speaker, but a seeker. I want to be a God-gazer, and for a moment, I want God to gaze through me. I want others to see His eyes, His heart, His mind, and love above everything else in me. I want to be a God-gazer, captured by the brilliance that springs from the radiance of you. I want to be a life giver, not a life sucker. I want my life to be releasing, not appeasing or placating. I want to be a life giver, a drain pipe without blockages, a circuit without stoppages, a connector without breakages. I want to be a life giver, a you can do it releaser, a have a go preacher, a you were born to do this pastor. I want to be a life giver, seeing rivers flow, not die, seeing others rise and fly, helping friends reach for the stars. Even if they sometimes miss, at least they can say they tried. I want to be a life giver, generous in spirit and in heart, letting the forgotten make a start at being life givers too. I want to be a life giver because I am a God-gazer, not because it's about me, but because it's about Him, because life can't spring from any other thing. I want to be a life giver, connected to the source, pointing to the sun, standing in the shadow of the light, celebrating Him. I want to be a world changer, not just a furniture rearranger or an it could be better whinger or a have the leftovers stinger. I want to be a world changer, a doer, not just a talker. I want to spread the claws of heaven, no more or less than a poor man's dreams, beneath the feet of Jesus. I want to be a world changer because on a morning many winters ago, the tomb was open and the curse was broken. Death had to let go and recreation burst out of an old wineskin like water from a geyser, like the cry of a child pushed into the world, and nothing will ever shut him up. I want to be a world changer because it started, because the vanguard's on the move, and love is pushing out hate, and light is shining out, and darkness can't understand it, beat it, change it, hide it, kill it, stop it, or win. I want to be a world changer because there's safety in this danger. There's meaning in this purpose. There's joy in this mission. And too many others are missing the power of life in all its fullness. World changer, life giver, God gazer. God, break into me, then break out. Fill, then make me leak. Plug me in and push me out. In me, through me, around me. God gazing, life giving, world changing God, captured by the brilliance that springs from the radiance of you.